Prime Minister Narendra Modi undertook a 3-city tour to get a first-hand perspective from scientists and developers of COVID-19 vaccine. The Prime Minister is leading India's battle against the corona vaccine, and the visits were aimed at understanding various challenges and the roadmap in India's endeavour to vaccinate its citizens. India Today tracked the movement of the Prime Minister across the 3 cities. Here's our special report.
वैक्सीन को लेकर भारत के पास जैसा अनुभव है वो दुनिया के बड़े बड़े देशों को भी नहीं है। भारत जो भी वैक्सीन अपने नागरिकों को देगा वो हर वैज्ञानिक कसौटी पर खरी होगी।
It's the biggest health crisis of our time. The entire world is combating an invisible enemy. While the world races to find a vaccine, India too is among the front runners. Prime Minister Narendra Modi undertook a whirlwind 3-city tour on Saturday to take stock of the developments at 3 vaccine hubs. The Prime Minister's first pit stop was at Ahmedabad, where he headed straight to the pharma major Zydus Cadila's manufacturing facility. Wearing a PPE kit, the Prime Minister reviewed the development of the indigenous DNA-based vaccine. The Prime Minister listened intently as the scientists explained the finer details of the vaccine, which has already completed the second phase of clinical trials.
India's journey in the Atmanirbhar Bharat, the scientists, 1,800 of them, and 25,000 plus Zydans are continuously thriving and working for providing safe and efficacious vaccine.
After Ahmedabad, Prime Minister Modi's next stop was the Bharat Biotech plant in Hyderabad. The company is working on Covaxin, pitched as India's first indigenous vaccine candidate. The 3-phase human trial of Covaxin began at AIIMS in New Delhi on Thursday.
Covaxin is first indigenous vaccine against coronavirus, and if we believe Bharat Biotech, the manufacturer, the developer of this vaccine, Bharat Biotech believe that by next year, second quarter, this vaccine will be available.
The Prime Minister's last stop was Pune, when he visited the Serum Institute and interacted with scientists and senior management there.
Serum Institute is a pioneer institute as far as vaccinology is concerned in India, and they have got extensive stock of this vaccine as of now. Now, with this particular background, that huge stock is already available. So as soon as they get the permission to go further, they will be able to supply this vaccine for India and for some other countries also.
Centre is actively drawing up plans for the distribution of the much sought after COVID-19 vaccine once it is available. And the Prime Minister is himself leading the battle from the front. With Ashish in Hyderabad, this is Pankaj Upadhyay in Pune with camera person Mahesh More reporting for India Today.
All right, we're cutting across to our guest joining us, Dr Sanjeev Bagai, to give us a glimpse into what this really means. Prime Minister's visit to 3 labs which are currently carrying out trials to our indigenous vaccines. You have the latest that Prime Minister is currently there right now at the Serum Institute, which is quite promising. Here, Dr Sanjeev Bagai, as much as we know that this is sort of boosting confidence to all these manufacturers, somehow the challenges can't be ignored. We're looking at 1 billion odd people in India who need to be vaccinated, and at a time like this, COVID-19 pandemic, this is unprecedented. Do you think it's possible to roll out those kind of numbers and in time? Do take us through how you view Prime Minister's visit to these laboratories months ahead of the vaccine rolled out.
Good evening, Navla. Good evening, everyone. I think the visit itself is much more than purely symbolic. It's to see the operational layout on the ground. It's to see firsthand, to seize what the challenges are, where we have reached, what more needs to be done. It's also a great motivation for the entire set of scientists in all the laboratories in the 3 places and elsewhere in India too. It's also a very good message to the Indian society that whatever is rolled out as far as the vaccine program is concerned, it will be safe, it will be secure, it will be cost effective, and very important is to increase the mental acceptance that this vaccine is to be used. There is no misinformation in people's mind, and there will be equitable distribution. That means there will be no discrimination by geographic region or by socio-economic class. So I think the visit itself has been monumental, so to say, to achieve all these purposes.
Right.
Now the challenges on the ground are as follows. Yeah, please go ahead.
What we're as much as it looks promising, we're looking at over 1 billion people, and this is and possibly for the first time, adults are going to be vaccinated to COVID-19, against COVID-19. This could be a daunting task for India, and it all comes down to the pricing of it, because the Indian government has promised free vaccination. Where is the money? But first, take us through the challenges that you wanted to list out.
Yeah, the 3 or 4 major challenges which India will face, and before I go into the real part of the challenges, if there is any country, especially of the size of India, which is capable of doing this, it's a warlike situation to have a vaccination program rolled out pan-India, and not once but twice. That means now and after 28 days, because there will be 1 booster dose which is required, and that country is India. Primarily because it's been a vaccine hub, not only of usage but of manufacturing worldwide.
True.
And we are producing more than 60% of the global stock of vaccines.
Absolutely.
The challenges really will be of manpower. Manpower for 2 reasons. One is we have an ongoing program of vaccinations, which is the Indian Association of Pediatrics, mainly centered around the children and the pediatric age group. That cannot suffer. So we need enough number of people on the ground, in the field, in remote areas, because this is an injectable dose which is given twice. That would be a challenge for doctors, nursing staff, paramedics, skilled staff. The second would be to maintain the cold chain, although it is not as a super freezing temperature, but 2 to 8 degrees is a normal refrigeration temperature, but the cold chain maintenance is critical. The third is the data. The data for the first dose and then the second dose. So to gather the data, to gather the population in the given areas, that would be a challenge on the ground. And the continuous monitoring after the vaccine is launched.
Right.
Because at the moment we have, say, 30 or 40,000 people in phase 3. But the ongoing monitoring will continue for many months after the vaccine is launched. Broadly, these would be the challenges, because we need to see
Absolutely.
how long
And
the
these are
immunity
not
will last as far as duration is concerned.
Like we did say, this is unprecedented, and these challenges are not simple. We're generally a warmer country than compared to the West. At our temperatures, to have cold storage in abundance is going to be hard. And then the price of it, it's going to be very difficult. Even for that matter, Serum Institute has also said these challenges are to be observed, and solution must be brought out. Even they can't promise a cheap vaccination as much as they claim that it will be cheap. And then you have the other vaccines in the West which are really expensive. Even if you bring it down to 1,000 per vaccine, how can the Indian government afford it? How can every individual in the country afford it? Even if the... all right, let me quickly cut across to our reporter there, Pankaj Upadhyay, to get us what he saw from Pune. Pankaj, here, Prime Minister Modi visited Serum Institute. He took a tour. We saw the visuals coming in. But any word that came out from Serum Institute on what exactly this visit meant, and by when will they roll out the vaccine? If they have any plan charted out on that.
Well, there's no official release as such as of now. But I was just looking at Twitter, and Adar Punawala has tweeted, and I'll read out, Shri Narendra Modi ji, it was a great honor for you to have spared the time to visit us at the Serum Institute to discuss in detail the complex challenges yet to come and review the vaccine production status. Now, as you rightly pointed out, Nabila, there are going to be challenges galore in the days ahead, but this will serve as a big booster of sorts for the medical fraternity. That Prime Minister of the country is himself taking so much of interest in the day-to-day developments. Today, he was at the Serum Institute for nearly an hour. He met the medical scientists. He asked in detail about the development of the vaccine. He would have surely asked about the logistical details, the production, the distribution. So he's taken interest in every department, how the vaccine is going to roll out. Because at this point of time, when this vaccine seems to be coming out in a very promising fashion, the fact remains the world is viewing Serum Institute, with a lot of interest. This institute has capacity like no other. And that is the reason a lot of countries feel that if and when this vaccine comes out, India is going to play a very important role. And this is yet another
do
reason
stay with us.
why
We're cutting across to Adar Poonawala, the CEO of Serum Institute, who welcomed Modi at his laboratory. He's speaking. Let's take a listen what he has to say.
So what we discussed is the plan, implementation plan, which will happen only after an emergency use licensure, if that is granted, based on the data that will have to be submitted. We're in the process of submitting that officially to the Drug Controller of India. After he reviews that, we'll follow all those processes because we don't want to have any shortcuts at all. And after that, it will be a decision, with the Health Ministry to roll out hundreds of millions of doses in the first and second quarter of 2021. But that is only going to happen again, as I mentioned, once we submit and it's all approved and the trials in the UK also go well.
Thank you. The next question is from Yuan Rocha from Reuters India. What was the takeaway from the Prime Minister's visit today? Do you anticipate that the government will soon announce a firm commitment to purchase large volumes of the Covishield vaccine?
Yes, well, with so many different vaccines, we discussed and briefed all the merits, the pros and cons of different vaccines that are out there, with the logistical issues of some of the vaccines, the pricing issue with some of the vaccines. And, they'll really have to take a very balanced view of how that's going to happen. As of yet, we don't have anything in writing with the government of India on how many doses they will purchase, but the indication is 300 to 400 million doses by July 2021, which is what the Health Ministry has made public, on various occasions in the past. Does that answer your question, Mayank?
Yes.
All right, that's Adar Poonawala there giving a lowdown on what really went by and some challenges that he did mention. Cutting across to Dr. Sanjeev Bagai. Doctor, here Adar Poonawala is also unsure about the number of doses that can be actually rolled out in time. Definitely the government's help is needed, and that's exactly what Prime Minister Modi was there to reassure them, that the government is fully supporting these laboratories to ensure that they roll out with the support, whatever needed. But yet somehow it's unimaginable. One can't really imagine how 500 million doses can actually be rolled out in time. If not for Oxford's AstraZeneca, which Serum Institute is rolling out, we are still depending on, for that matter, Bharat Biotech, which is still homegrown, Covaxin. If you have to choose here, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, what looks more promising? Three vaccines, which is indigenous to India. What would you bet on?
Yeah, in fact, all the three vaccines. So what your question really is, on scientific basis, the different types of vaccines which are good. So the Serum Institute vaccine, this is a vector-based vaccine. It uses the adenovirus vector base. It's a Trojan horse technique. That means it uses a technique to piggyback the virus protein into the body so that the penetration is quicker and the response is better. That's a good technique and a good vaccine. It's been tried before and it's tried and tested. It works very well. As far as the Bharat Biotech vaccine is concerned, that is also a vector-based vaccine in which the rabies vector virus base is used. That's also a good technique. And the Zydus one is a plasmid DNA vaccine. That also is excellent. The limitations with the vaccines which are produced overseas, the mRNA, although it's a new technique, is good. It's a very good foundation technically as far as scientific basis is concerned, but the protein which they make is a fragment protein which is very friable. So it's heat labile, so it can degenerate very quickly if it is not stored at a super freezing temperature. So if you have to choose between the three, all three are good. I don't think people would be in a position to choose whichever is rolled out first in a phased manner for the medical staff, for the doctors, for the healthcare workers, frontline workers. So I'm sure the government has a plan in view. What I would like to say as an end point in this particular phrase is that if there is any country which can roll out a vaccine program of this magnitude in the length and breadth of the country, it's India, because it has a proven track record and past experience of doing massive vaccination campaigns for decades.
Yeah, but that's happened in the past. Like you also mentioned, 60% of vaccine manufacturers are based in India. So one can only imagine the confidence that India has, no doubt, which is why. But yet experts say that India will never be able to roll out sufficient amount of vaccines. It's going to be difficult because you've got to prioritize, and that's where it all comes down to, prioritizing the high-risk groups. Do you think it's, tell me how the government plans to carry out that task so far from what plans they've had?
Yeah, I think the prioritization is pretty much the same in most countries, which has come into publication in print. So it's the people who are the frontline workers, which includes the doctors, the nursing staff, the paramedics, the helper staffs in a hospital-based setting. The second would be the elderlies beyond the age of 65, the more vulnerable, especially the ones with comorbid conditions, immunocompromised and so on. And then the phase 3 would be the general population, the healthy population. What I would like to mention is that when you're looking at a vaccine which is in a phased manner, a rollout, you're looking at 4 endpoints. The 4 critical endpoints is that the vaccine should prevent infection, mild, moderate and severe. It should prevent the conversion of infection to disease. The third point is it should decrease the transmission from human being to human being. And last, most importantly, is it should decrease the death rate. That means the mortality, the case fatality comes down. And I'm pretty much sure that the Indian vaccines, all 3 of them, would achieve the endpoints. I'm not too worried about what is being described internationally as very high percentages of efficacy, because that does not become equivalent or doesn't convert on the ground to effectiveness. So effectiveness is in the real world scenario, and we have to see how effective the vaccines are on the ground, which time will tell us in the next few months.
Absolutely. But according to you, Doctor, how promising do you think, or when do you think these vaccines will be rolled out latest? Because here you have Pfizer, you have Sputnik 5, you have Moderna promising early next year. But India's indigenous vaccines, apart from Oxford AstraZeneca, in fact, Bharat Biotech's vaccine is still they're still claiming post-July. And that would be too late, while the other countries might get it sooner. And we can't afford their vaccines because they're so expensive. So then what?
Yeah, so I think the Pune vaccine from Serum Institute of India would come out in the first half of next year. And the other 2 vaccines which are indigenous would also come out, but maybe in the second half of next year. Like I've said, there are a lot of global collaboration forums like Gavi, like COVAX, in which a lot of collaboration is taking place through international agencies. A lot of cross-funding is taking place to support this program, because the simple endpoint is no one is safe till the entire community is safe. So I cannot be safe by being vaccinated unless until the entire community is sufficiently vaccinated to reach the threshold of herd immunity. So I think India would get the sufficient number of doses. The real critical point would be the cost benefit ratio in terms of where the money is going to come from, where the expenditure is going to come from. And I'm a very firm believer that the paying population should pay for the vaccines.
True.
And the poorer, the needier, the people who cannot afford it should get it free.
Well, absolutely, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, let's hope this is the plan that the government is rolling out, even though they've promised free vaccination to all. Like you rightly said, where's the money coming from? Where can it come from? The paying population must pay. That's possibly a solution that we could look at. But thank you very much. We're hoping that the vaccines are rolled out soon enough. Prime Minister Narendra Modi there visited 3 laboratories to sort of push and oversee the progress of vaccines in India. All right, that's it for now. Thank you very much. Coming up next is